And then there's another product that has to do with, instead of caffeine, it energizes the body. So there's another drink kind of a thing?
It's a 2-ounce drink, and it contains a
Helps people with the Red Bull craze.
Yes, there's no caffeine and there's no sugar. And a lot of people are taking this to get off of Red Bull because what it does, it provides the same focus, the same endurance.
Lift, energy.
It's a lift, but it also gives you endurance. And I've been able to do the 25.
Live to 120, but do 25 chin-ups.
Do 25 chin-ups because I've been drinking those 2 ounces of basically cellular energy. So yeah, we have very, very exciting new products that I believe by themselves will help a lot of people. And some on the drawing board that's going to continue that tradition and help people live well into their, well past 100.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. You're an author. You've authored a few different books. And there's a story to do, I'd like you to mention a few of the books, but there's a story to do with your book, Success Forces, that has to do with a world-famous advertising man, an Indian healer, that pretty much sums up what's important to you in your life.
Well, this was about 30 years ago. I wrote a book, and it was called Success Forces, and it was my philosophy of conducting business. And I brought up a lot of interesting points, and I published the book, and I sold 100,000 copies. And why? Because I had the publisher kept coming at me and says, look, your company is fairly well known, and people just want to know more about you. And he finally talked me into it. I wrote that book. And about 12 or 14 years later, somebody picked up that book, read it, and it turned their life around to such an extent. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself. It's now 2009. It's February. I go to this networking conference. I'm sitting in the conference, I'm socializing, but I'm getting tired, so I decide I'm going to go home. Let everybody else socialize and network. I'm just going to go home. I go home, I get in bed, I get in my pajamas, get in bed, and the phone rings, and it's somebody from this event asking me to get back there, that one of my biggest fans is visiting, and this person insisted I come back, and I wanted to do that person a favor, so I said, okay. So I get dressed, I go back, and who do I meet? I meet this guru from India who has offices all over the world. He has 2 offices in the United States, he has offices in Europe, South America, Asia, and he sells products, and he also heals people. And he can see about 150 people and heal them one by one. It's the most amazing thing. So, and he was a big fan of mine. And I said, well, why are you such a big fan of mine? And he says, because 15 years ago, I was very shy, I was humble, I didn't go out there and do anything, and I came to the attention of a gentleman by the name of David Ogilvy, who owned the Ogilvy Mather advertising agency in New York. They had the Mercedes account. And I met him, and I healed him, and I became his personal physician, his personal doctor. And before he died, he left in his will that I would get all of his books, every one of his books, his entire library. And sure enough, he passed away, and I got all of his books. And I'm looking at them in mass, and there must have been a couple thousand books, and I see one book that just for some reason called to me. And I picked it out, and it was your book. And I read it from cover to cover, and I saw all the notes from David Ogilvy in the book, and I studied it, and that changed my life. I then went out and I said, it's time to spread my success and my products and my skill throughout the world. And that's when he opened up all of his offices. And it was a thrill for me for a couple of reasons. One, first of all, David Ogilvy was one of my mentors, one of my heroes. And I never met him, but he had written several books, and I loved what he had written, and I followed a lot of his suggestions. And now here I find out he was a fan of mine as well. I was his mentor to a certain degree.
Wow.
And then to realize that this guru, his name is Dr. Pankaj Naram, this guru, as a result of of my book, went out and influenced millions of people out there that maybe he would have never influenced had he not been inspired by my book. And in fact, it inspired me to revise the book. The book's been out of print for years, it's 25 years. But I'm going to be revising the book and telling this little story. And the story basically says that you could write a book and you could help a lot of people, but you never know how many people. Like I have this book, Triggers, one book I wrote called Triggers, and it's been translated into Yugoslav, the Serbish, it's been translated into Spanish, I mean, Chinese, Japanese, I mean, it's been translated in so many languages. So how many people am I influencing in these other countries that I don't even know about? And
then something else you were saying to do with that is influencing many different people, but then sometimes you find one person like this man, and then millions more influenced from that trickle-down effect.
Exactly,
yeah.
And that's what happened, and that's why it was such a shock to me. For some reason I didn't realize it. I would get letters from individuals saying that it affected their lives, but to meet this guy and to hear that, that really moved me. I mean, I was such a thrill to hear that. And Steve, I hope with our new products to really influence the world as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, Joe. It's a pleasure to know you, and you're an inspiration.
Well, thank you, and I enjoyed spending the time with you, Steve.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Absolutely. So to find out more, you can go to Joe's website and find out more information. And we love having him on the show. We love having him on Maui, and look forward to whatever he's involved in, because it's always something that's interesting. So that's it for this episode of Life on Maui. And of course, look forward to the next one. Until that time, aloha.
Call me crazy, but I'm never